Thanks for joining me, Steve.
Thanks for having me on, mate. It's really good.
Let's jump right in and talk about your last fight. So, obviously, there was a lot of controversy. Everyone thought that you won that fight. Watching it live on TV, they were completely shocked, the commentators.
Yeah.
And do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's just more like it's disheartening in a way, when you have been doing the sport since you're 12 years old. I grew up watching Canelo Alvarez fight Mayweather and all that on telly, and then here I am in Mexico in a stadium with 60,000 people and on his undercard, and I had to fight my ass off, in that fight, and I really showed my grit, my determination, and it should have been a hard-earned win for me, and unfortunately, due to whatever it may be, corruption or biasness, I don't know. It's, where there's money to be made, there's always going to be corruption. But, they took that win from me where it should have been my crowning moment. Like since a kid, 12 years old, I've been training, dreaming of these sorts of moments where, you pull off big wins like that, you come from behind or whatever it may be. And, they take it off you like that and they can just go, back to bed that night and it's no skin off their teeth, where us fighters, we sacrifice our whole life for these moments. And, have it taken away from me. There's cost me money. It's cost me rankings. It's cost me a lot. It's made the road to a world title a bit longer. For me, I'm going to get there eventually, but it's just made it a little bit longer. And unfortunately, on the back end of it, I just have to take another route now instead of getting there as quick. But we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, people don't do what you do. They don't go into the backyard of fighters and try to take them on, taking on Montana Love in his hometown, fighting Tim Tszyu on 1 week's notice, going up 2 weight classes, and then now this Gollaz situation. But, with the Montana Love, at least you sort of got the result for your efforts. And this one, they just stole it from you. And I got some stats here. So 41 jabs to Gollaz, 14 to Spark, but then 86 power punches to Gollaz and 176 to Spark. Yeah. More than double him in power punches.
Double in power punches, and on that too, I've watched the fight back, but I don't know about that stat there on the jabs and that, because I remember landing that many freaking jabs on his head. Like I actually got 2 fractures in my hand, just from I remember about the maybe 5th or 6th round, I broke the hand in 2 spots, and just from landing so many jabs on his head. Like I remember landing a whole lot more than 14 on him. But yeah, look, stats are stats, and there's so much more in a boxing fight than just stats. They score the fight on ring generalship, and so many other things, and which I believe I controlled every aspect of the fight, really, besides the knockdown. And I mean, how many other great fighters do you see get knocked down and win fights? Just because you win 1 round by an extra point doesn't mean you win the fight. I gave him 2 rounds, 3 at a very, very push, but other than that, and I won it convincingly after that, getting knocked down in that round, and I won it very convincingly. I haven't seen a comment saying that Gollaz won. I had Mexicans coming up to me in the stadium.
Yeah, wow.
Saying, sorry, we thought you won. We're Mexican and we thought you won. Like they're purist boxing fans, but, they're honest as well. And everyone could see I won that fight. The DAZN commentators, the broadcast team all thought I won. And that was the show it was on. So, I mean, it's another thing for people to all tell me, everyone go, oh, you won. But at the end of the day, when people look back on my record, it's going to have that loss there. And that's unfortunate for me because, my legacy is always going to have that on there when it shouldn't. And you see so many fighters go through that, on the wrong end of a bad decision. It happens far too much in the sport of boxing. So
yeah, definitely.
It's just the shit side of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, just recently with Devin Haney versus Lomachenko.
Yeah, and do you know what, though? On that fight, though, that was one of those fights that could have gone either way. Like my fight wasn't even like a fight that was like, it could go either way. With Devin Haney and Lomachenko, it was a fight that's like, I thought Loma won, but, Haney won by 1 round, so it's like, oh, okay. But one judge gave Gollaz in my fight 6 rounds. How do you give him 6 rounds in the fight against me? Like it's just bizarre, Like he knew I won the fight. Everyone knows I won the fight. So
and the one neutral judge gave it to you. So
yeah, well that's another thing that Brennan and my team had they'd spoke to Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and because it was a co-promotion with Canelo Promotions, and they were sort of secondary promoter, Matchroom. So we spoke to them about making sure that it was going to be neutral judges, and we confirmed, we had on writing who the judges were meant to be. They announced those judges. What we didn't know is last minute they switched out 2 of the neutral judges, 2 US judges, and swapped them in for 2 local Guadalajarian judges, where Gabriel Gollaz is from. He's from Guadalajara, where the fight was. They switched him out. And then, they're the two that gave it to him. And the other neutral judge gave me the fight, on a split decision. So it's just a shit thing. But anyway.
You can see what was going on. Like,
bit of home
not
cooking.
hard to put it together.
Yeah, it's terrible. But anyway, we move on and we keep going. So
yeah, definitely. No, the road doesn't end here for you. And I'm sure it'll just burn the hunger in you deeper. But might make you steer away a little bit from taking those risks of going into people's backyards, or does
which is shit.
Yeah.
I did say this too, like you said, taking on Tim and taking Montana Love on, even in that fight, the judges had me down in that one, which was bizarre as well. With Montana Love, I knocked him down and was in front, and on that one, they had me down. It just goes to show you, though, it's all very well when you take these risks, and you have to in this sport, I guess, to get anywhere. Yeah. And I was sort of leading the way for young fighters coming through, but when they see that happen, they go, well, why do we? Why do we risk it? We might as well just stay here in Australia and fly some fighters in and get an easy win here, or we won't take these kinds of risks, because they see what happens there and go, why would you risk it? You spend your whole career, for these moments, and to have it stolen off you by incompetent judges, it's shit. But anyway, I'm going to keep doing me, mate. I'm going to keep taking the risks, because without the risk, there's no reward either. So we'll keep going.
What makes you so entertaining? What makes people love you? All the people that are following you and supporting you. Like, you're a great fighter, but you're also just willing to do things that others aren't, which is what separates you and will in the long run, and people will remember you for it, I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I hope so. I think it'll pay off eventually.
Yeah, so let's go back a bit to the start of where everything started for you. How did you get into boxing?
Yeah, so I I actually started out at Crow's Nest, recreational centre. There was a coach out there called James McKay. He was like my first real boxing coach. And he just sort of ran a recreational boxing class out there. And one of my mates just said, oh, why don't you come along after school? And I wasn't really I was like, oh yeah, I'll just come hang out with my mates more. So I actually sucked at it. I got beat up a lot.
13 years old, wasn't
it? Yeah, I was at 13. Yeah, I sucked at it. I used to get beat up. But out of everyone that, there was about probably 20, 25 kids. I'm the only one that still only does it, and stuck it out. And, from Crow's Nest there, I come into PCYC, the local club here in Toowoomba, and then I was there for about a year and a half too, and then I come here to Brendan Smith. So I've been with Brendan since I was about 15. So going on 11 years now, we've been working together and training together. So yeah, it's been great. Everyone has their little inputs along the way, and I'm very grateful. They all played a part in me being in the spot I am today in the sport, and why I take it so seriously. It's not one person only, but each and every single one of them. So yeah, I've been lucky to be, coached by some good people along the way, and I'm happy to be in the place I am now at Smithy's. It's a great gym, and I grew up here watching the older fighters Braid and Katsitas and Will Young and Lee Sherrington, Darren Asker, all the older fighters. That's where I guess a lot of you get to see the work ethic that's involved, from a young age.
People on a higher level too, on the world
exactly.
stage.
You see, hey, this is actually possible.
Yeah.
You have a dream of that, but it's very hard when you're not surrounded by other champions, I guess, from a young age. You can see the work ethic that those boys put in. I was 15 and got to see how hard they trained and how much effort they put into it. So that's very good. And same with these young kids coming through now. They get to see me on the level that I'm at, and they get to see the work that I have to put in to be where I am. So it's it all rubs off on one another is what I mean. So it's good.
Yeah. And at what point did you sort of think, I can actually do this as a career? This could be my future?
Probably, about 15, 16 when I come here. I've always sort of was like, oh, I'm going to do it. But I guess when you start to get a bit older, you're like, no, I can be a world champion in this. And I've always thought, well, if you're not in it to be the best, then why are you in it?
Yeah.
What
were people around you saying? Were they encouraging you, saying go for this, or were they saying go with the safer option, get a trade, go to uni?
I guess I've always just been the type of person I just do what I want anyway. I guess probably it wasn't sort of get a trade or do this. I think people just sort of let me do what I wanted. I've always just said I wanted to do this. And
was that ever a thought to you, a fallback plan or a alternative career?
Not really. No, I just was. I'm all in. I worked a little bit at the meatworks at Abattoirs there, JBS Beef City, and it sort of was when I was on pro for a bit, and then I got the chance to fight for the Australian title, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to quit my job and just do this full time now, and take it serious. And I did quit my job then, and just sort of did along the way. It was always just part time work, so I could do this properly. I was working part time at the a pub from then on the weekends and that, and I lived at the gym here upstairs for 2 years as well, just no
That
money,
would've been
just
crazy
trying to have a crack at
atmosphere.
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
wow.
it was good. You're pretty much living at the gym. I'd work at, do the classes here, train, and then sleep upstairs at the gym, and then train in the mornings. Like it was
Straight
good
out of a
life.
movie or a
Yeah,
storybook.
literally. Like I lived
Yeah.
upstairs. Brendan was very good to me. He let me live upstairs, for about 2 years. So, yeah, it just sort of kept the dream alive for me. I was lucky along the way, I guess, to have people helping me in the way they did. Working part time, and just took it more and more serious as it went along.
Yeah, so many special things about Smithy's gym with Brendan and having world champions in here.
Yeah.
And it's a legit place with a really legit trainer. And yeah, I'm sure that without Brendan, you might not have been as successful as you have been. He's probably played a massive role in it.
For sure. We work together really well. I owe a lot to where I am at my life right now because of him. We work together so well and we believe in each other. And the harder I've worked, the harder he's worked. We've sort of just risen
you'd
together.
Keep him motivated as well.
Exactly.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Keep him hungry.
Yeah, he works extremely hard, and I work extremely hard as well. And I was literally just sending him some videos last night of me and him warming up at the back here at Rumours International, and then I was showing him one of me warming up out the back, and I was like from Toowoomba to Mexico, literally fighting here in Toowoomba in front of 1,000 people, to going over to Mexico and fighting in front of 60,000. It's pretty cool, to look back on that. And
does it feel like you're living in a movie sometimes?
No, not really. No, not really. I don't know. To me, it's just like, every fight, it's always sort of been like, I did that, I'll see how much further I can go. And then it was like, won a Queensland title. Oh, cool. Oh, won the Aussie title. And then it was like, oh shit, now I'm winning this and winning. And it just kept winning, And I guess with success brings confidence, and confidence brings success. They work together. So yeah, it was just, I'll just see how far I can take this thing. And now I'm like, I'm gonna win a world title. I know I'm just gonna keep working hard, and I know it'll eventually pay off.
Yeah.
I'm relatively young, still 26, and you see fighters like Loma, like fighting for 34, 35. I've got so many more years left in the sport. And that last fight in Mexico, I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about boxing. Like each fight you gain a little bit of experience. That's something you can't buy in fighting, is experience. Like that there. Dealing with, it's what people don't understand too. Like when you have to deal with like the media, the crowd, being in another country, adjusting to time zones, all that makes it it's so easy when you fight at home here. It's so easy. Like, when you're flying your opponents in and you get to do it, it's so easy. Sleep in your bed. It's your country. Nothing, the food's all the same. Like when you go over there, little things just change, and it can put you off. It can change you by 5%. That can be the difference in winning. So like, I feel like me having traveled to Cleveland, Ohio, Montana loves home ground, like, getting sworn at, booed, like, but, the culture there is just so different. And, having to deal with that, getting the win, then going to Mexico, dealing with that, like, I feel like I'm just going to be a whole new fighter again when I jump back in the ring. Like, it's just going to be a breeze, dealing with that sort of crowd and everything. The next one's just going to be cruisy as that's what it is. It's just experience, in my opinion.
When you was coming up and deciding what sort of style you had, was that a decision that you made, or did it happen naturally?
I've never been like one of the, I guess, prettiest boxers, as you'd say. Like, I'm not like crazy at like head movement, and I like to just fight. Like, I was actually, go back when I was like younger, like maybe 16, I was more of a brawler actually even then. And then early on in my pro career, I broke my hand on the right side, and I could only box off my left hand pretty much for like 2 years. So taught me to box a whole lot more, which was kind of like a blessing in disguise, which I feel like every fighter should have to do, is break their right hand so they can learn just to use their jab hand more, because just teaches you how to be balanced, how to work off that left side, and it's really helped me along the way. I mean, a lot of people don't know, in that last training camp too, I pretty much did that whole training camp one-handed, because I tore my UCL ligament in my elbow and had to pretty much do that whole training camp one-handed as well. So I'm like, I know I'm going to be even so much better for my next fight, because you have to deal with injuries through training camps, but that was hard, having to deal with that, a torn UCL ligament, and pretty much sparred one-handed, trained left-handed, the whole training camp for that Mexican fight. So I'm excited for the next one. But yeah, like my style is just sort of, I guess, a good trainer like Brandon will not just train everyone the same way. You can't just be like, okay, this is how you train someone, and that's it. You have to sort of learn how to train fighters to their style, I guess.
So many different body types.
Yeah, exactly. He lets us figure out our own little style, and then works on that, enhances what we're good at, and fixes what we're not so good at.
You love coming forward, but we've also seen you've got great footwork, and you've got the stamina to go the distance.
Yeah,
Jack Brubaker, you danced around him for 12 rounds.
That was the sort of fight with Brubaker. Like, I stepped up a weight class there, couldn't really sit in front and push the pressure on him too much because he was very strong and was so much bigger than me. Like, and stand in front of someone a lot bigger than you like that, you got to get the feet moving. And obviously he dropped me in the first round, and so I was like, shit, got to get on the footwork here. And he's very stiff and come forward like that, so cutting angles side to side is always going to make it hard for someone like that. So I've shown my versatility across the board as well. Even in that fight in Mexico, like I showed that I can get on the bike a bit, I can come forward. You had to
show a bit of everything.
Yeah,
in that
exactly.
fight.
And I think that's what it's about, is being able to adapt on the night and also show people that you can do a bit of everything, because you're going to have to at some point in your career. And I'm only going to come up from that last fight.
Yeah, definitely. Where's the work ethic come from? I'm always seeing you posting about doing huge runs and doing sprint intervals and different workouts. Like, you're always active. Straight after a fight, you'll take minimal rest and you'll be straight back into it. Where does that come from?
Well, I guess when you're young, like I said, growing up around those fighters, I got to see what sort of work ethic is involved. You see the level of how much these boys are pushing themselves, when I was 15. So I guess that developed from a young age, but I've always liked to train hard. I'm a very competitive person. Like, I can go bowling with my missus and I'm winning. Like, it doesn't matter. It is like, whatever I do, I'm always like, I want to win, or I want to be better than the person next to me. That's what I've always wanted to do, more than the other person, always. I guess that's where it comes from a bit. I'm very competitive.
Having an older brother, I'm sure, would have
Two
been
older
still,
brothers, like, you're always trying to compete. I guess too, what you think's hard at 15 isn't really that hard, and what you think's hard at 18, it just goes up and up. Like, how hard I train now is so much harder than what I trained when I first turned pro, just because you develop a work ethic. Like, you don't just wake up with a work ethic. It's momentum. You like I said, with success brings confidence, and confidence brings success. So the harder you're going to train, because you're like, oh, I need to pick my game up. You see how much harder the other fighters are training, and you see how much work you really got. You got to be a full-time athlete. You have to treat it like that. I do have my off periods, and that after a fight, I do like take a week or so off. And after this one, I've probably taken a bit more off than I should have. I'm a bit tubby at the moment, but it's working through injuries as well. You just got to keep that work ethic.
When you had your broken hand, I've seen you hitting the bag, hitting it with as much as you had with your one good
just
hand.
One hand, like
instead of sitting out and making excuses.
Yeah. I don't know. You just have to, I guess. And I actually enjoy training. Like, I like being fit. I like feeling good. Like, working out, it's like a free drug. Like, I love that feeling. Sometimes after you go like a hard workout, you lay on the ground and like the endorphins are running, and I just love that feeling. So even when I finish boxing and retire, I'll still stay fit. I'll still train. Like, I love doing CrossFit. Like, it's one of my favorite workout, like at the gym there. And, I like the feeling after that. So I guess my work ethics has sort of developed over the years and got more and more and more. And I just know that you have to do that if you want to be at a higher level.
Yeah, definitely. I think the saying is, confidence doesn't come from shouting affirmations in the mirror. It comes from showing undeniable proof that you are who you say you are, and your work ethic complements your confidence and allows you to be as confident as you are. You go in there and you're going to do well because you put in the work. Yeah,
exactly. You don't go into a fight confident unless you have put the work in. Like, if you've cut corners, if you haven't put the work in, and you haven't been so good with the diet, or you think about that going into a fight, and that's the last thing you want to think. Like, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. Like, you have to be 100% confident, especially in a sport like fighting. Like, you have to know you're going to win. Like, you have to. Then your team will, and everyone else, that doesn't matter, like anyone else, but like, you have to realize you're going to win. And, if you've cut the corners, you got those little doubts in your mind. You're like, oh, what about those sessions I skipped, or I didn't wake up on those mornings and do the runs? Like, that's going to go into the fight. The fight's won well before the fight night. It's won 12 weeks prior, that whole training camp. Even before that, the years and years of work. If you cut corners back then, you're going to cut corners in life, I believe, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Spoke about a few of the difficulties you've had with broken hands and injuries. Can you mention some other difficulties that you've had over your career that you've had to overcome?
Broken rib, that was a shit one.
Jeez.
That was year before last. I was meant to fight on the card, no limit card, and it was literally like my last spar of camp, and sparring some amateur kid. Actually, he's probably still going around like, I broke that guy's rib. I forget his name. There was like three of them. We had like three amateurs jumping in, and they're all doing like 3 rounds each. It was literally my last round of the spar. It was like, I'm not even kidding. I think about 30 seconds left, and sparring, and a crack, and I was like, Brendan, and we had to rush to the hospital and that, and pull out of the fight, unfortunately, but broken rib. Yeah, I guess
Any mental hurdles that you've had to overcome?
that's probably more so than anything. Hey,
Yeah.
like this sport, I 100% think is so much more mental than it is physical. Like, because if you know, by getting it, like I said, by getting yourself into the physical condition, your mental is like, okay, I'm going to win. Like, you know, like I said, if you've cut corners and then you got doubts in here, you know, it's all mental. I guess like the mental hurdles as is, I'm always the type of person, I'm like, fuck, have I done enough? Have I worked hard enough? Have I ran hard enough? Like, I'm always like asking myself, have I done enough? So that's probably my biggest one is like, I guess, being able to be confident in the work that I've put in. Like, I do train extremely hard, and I guess, yeah, just being confident in the work that I've put in, not letting my mind take over and think like, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. Like, I have to be confident.
Guess that's
in the
what
work
drives you and
Yeah.
adds to that work ethic.
It does, yeah.
The pain of thinking about failure pushes you every single day just as much as the thought and of the great success as well. So a mix of
definitely.
both to
No one likes
help you get
losing.
through.
That motivates you to get out of bed. I tell you, like, losing sucks. And like the loss after, even though I took the fight with Tim on, I guess, 6 days notice or whatever, like I lost like that, like it's like, okay, got to rebuild, get back to the gym. Like, that's those mental things as well. Like, after a fight like that, or even my last one, like the last one in Mexico there, because I didn't get the win, it's like, I was in a bit of a slump there for a few weeks, like 3 or 4 weeks. I just didn't even want to train. I was just like, fuck. But you know, like,
especially when it wasn't by any fault of yours.
Yeah, like I think I needed a little break too, like being away from my home here, and I was away for like 6 weeks training and over in Mexico. So I think I just needed a few weeks to recharge and reboot. Like, I went and got engaged with my missus and that, and so I think I was just like, for me, it was like a mental rest as well more than anything. It wasn't like a physical. I don't know. Like, you're gonna have any athlete or any person who's going to be successful is going to have hurdles that they're going to have to jump over. Like, you look at all the great athletes, they all talk about after their career, like in their book, they'll talk about this injury that they had, this, and no one even knew, you know, and they were going out every week or every fight they were going out with this and broken this. Yeah, you just have to push through those moments. So when you have an injury or a setback, you just got to put it to the side and find a way, you know, because the champions or successful people always find a way. You know, that's what separates, I guess, the good from the great as well, the ones that can push through those sorts of things and pick themselves up and go again.
What about greatest successes or moments of your career that really stand out to you?
Probably my coolest moment still is when I won the Aussie title. Yeah, that was pretty cool. It was that was, I guess when you win, like now when I win, it's just like, okay, or like one, or you have a fight, it's like what you perceive something to be is what it will be, I guess. And that was my first ever real title, like an Aussie title. I was like young, you know, I was like 24 or something, or 22 or something, I can't remember. But like when I won, it was like, wow, that was cool. I won an Australian title and I knocked him out, and it was just like the coolest feeling ever. That's probably been still my greatest moment win. Like, it was the coolest thing ever because it meant so much to me at that time. I guess it still means a lot to me now, but the wins aren't as big, I guess, because like my mind's set on the world title. So I'm like, until I get that, you know, everything along the way is just a notch on the belt. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And I guess like I've got pretty cool support in this town, like as in sponsors and that. And you know, got some really big major sponsors now, which is awesome. Like, that's a cool thing to see, that people really back you and really put their faith and belief in you and want to see me do well. Like, they just want to see me succeed. They want to see me do well, and they like to see me represent my country, my town, Toowoomba, on the biggest stage possible. So that's cool feeling, knowing that people back me, you know, as much as they do.
Yeah, it's awesome to see all the companies in Toowoomba that you work with getting behind you. You want to talk about any of them? Yeah,
I would. But then I'd probably forget a few of them. Then they'll be like, oh, you didn't miss me. But obviously when I had my broken hand excavation equipment from Toowoomba here, they paid for my hand surgery and that. And I'm going to go on Mix Sutton Concrete, and they're amazing. Mick and Donna and the whole crew from Mix Sutton Concrete, and they've been behind me for a long time as well. And I've got DMW. I've got a dietitian on board, Rosalie Orr, performance dietitian. She's made a big difference to, you know, my last training camp on making the weight and stuff too, because that makes a big difference. There's
a little bit more strategic approach there.
Yeah. Like I've had I've had so many more, like not even the ones that are just with me now, but like I've had so many sponsors along the way too. Like, and I always I'm thankful to the ones who've the whole long way. Like, not just the ones that are with me now, but I've had heaps in the past that have been a part of me, and they helped in their own little way. And it's definitely, they've all, I guess, been a
played
part of the journey.
yeah.
They've all been a part of the journey and helped
take
me
that
in some
next
way.
step over and over again and keep progressing.
Yeah, so I'm forever thankful to all those sponsors. They've always been amazing. All the great people in the community. I feel like Toowoomba is such a good community where we do get behind people in a big way. And I've had like yourself come down and follow me, like traveled for my fights, Jacob, and I had people fly over to Mexico to watch me fight, like a lot of the companies and that. And HEQ, they flew over, like 7-8 people to Mexico to watch me fight. My uncle flew over.
Wow.
He's like 75 or something, yeah. And, my brother come over to Cleveland. I had, there's so many people that have traveled and supported me, and it's pretty cool that they're spending their hard-earned money on me and to see me succeed. So I can't thank everyone enough who continues to support me. It's awesome.
Yeah, we'll keep supporting you all the way to the world titles.
I hope so,
Undisputed and
that'd be
all
nice.
that else that is along the way.
And then I'll get a crazy job doing podcasts.
Geez. And what else do you like to do outside of boxing? What do you do to unwind or to just for enjoyment?
Yeah, well, it's definitely changed now. I got a little fella, I got a son now who's nearly 2 years old. So my weekends are hanging out with him and my fiance Emerson. We just hang out on the weekends. It's funny. I was chatting to Dennis Hogan, the Irish fighter, and we're talking about when you're younger and you go through a town, you go, oh, gee, that looks like a nice pub to stop into. So then you have kids and you go on through. You said, geez, kids, this place has got a good park. Do you just want to stop? You get a bit older, you start having kids, you start looking at different things. Your life takes a different journey as you get a bit older. Hey, taking him to the park on the weekends and doing all that stuff with him. I love seeing him grow up and turn into the person he is turning into. He's an amazing kid, and spending time with my fiance. And I love going shooting. My mum and dad have got a farm out at Crow's Nest, so
out clay shooting.
Clay shooting.
Awesome.
It's good fun. Going out there. I love going out, see the family on the weekends, having a barbecue, and we go up the hill, shoot the guns. I love going go-karting.
Yeah, not bad on the go-kart.
Yeah, it's good fun going go-karting. Far out. What else do I get up to? Training, pretty much. I love going to CrossFit. It's good up there, and I don't know.
Sauna sesh.
Hey,
love a good sauna.
Yeah, I love going to the sauna. Just me and my fiance, we go every Sunday together. Sunday afternoon, we drop my little fella back, and then we go for a sauna. I love going to the sauna. Pretty much so when your life's so consumed by the gym, you don't get a whole lot of time outside to do too much, because you're always looking for the next fight or the next thing, so you got to try and stay in the gym pretty much all the time. But when you do get that chance to, I just went up to Ellie Beach recently and did a few things up there. When you do get that chance to have a week off, it's really nice and enjoyable to have that downtime. So, just try and do some stuff with the family mostly, hey.
A lot of fighters, they face a lot of financial difficulty after they finish their career. Famously, Mike Tyson made hundreds of millions of dollars, later declared bankruptcy. Have you got any plans in place? Have you got good people around you in that aspect?
So I hope I don't start buying BMWs for random women and stuff like that. That's how that happens. Look, I've always said I don't want to finish this sport and have nothing to show for it. So if I can sort of get myself in a position where I can earn, in the sport, it's about ultimately, we're putting our life on the line and our health. So, get as much money as you can out of the sport and get out of it.
Careers.
I think. Yeah, exactly. You can't do this to your 50s. So make as much money as you can, as quick as you can, and hopefully leave a good legacy behind and get out of the sport while you can, and don't stick around for too long and take too many unwanted hits to the head, because it's not good for you. So, if I can finish this sport, mate, and own a house and a car and that, then I'll be happy. That's what it is for me. So, just get into real estate hopefully. So if you're selling me a house soon, I'm looking. Buy a house, and I've got some mates that are obviously do investing and that sort of stuff. So just taking in information from that, and obviously I do really want to learn another skill other than just boxing. Where I can learn how to invest money in a good way. So surround yourself with good people in that direction.
I'm sure coaching will be a good option for you down the track as well.
I go coach people now in the gym and do PTs and that, which I don't need to do that, but I actually enjoy coaching. I still do the classes here in the gym. I think it's really good because it keeps your mind on that aspect of why you're teaching people what you're teaching them. On the fighter side of it, you have to, if I'm coaching people on why you throw your punches this or this combination or why you do, it puts me in the mindset of like, okay, why am I doing that? And it keeps me in a learning sort of aspect too, because I'm learning how to coach people. I'm learning on why you do things off Brendan. Then I can show people, it keeps my brain, I guess, sharp on the boxing side of things. Yeah, that's what I like about it.
Oh, that's awesome. Definitely, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people say that you learn so much more when you're teaching. So
Yeah,
that's
well,
great that
I
you get
mean,
to
when
do
I
that.
was like 18, I actually stopped boxing for a bit and then took up full coaching for Brendan. He asked me if I wanted to coach all the pro fighters here. So for a year, I was on the other side of it, and I got to travel to China, I got to travel Melbourne, I got to go all over the world with like fighters like Herman, Michael Katsidis, Jack Assis. I got to coach them all and had my own fighters. And, like you said, it for that year, it was really good at a young age for me to see the sport from a different side, because then like what you expect from fighters, like, and now I know what Brendan expects from me on the other side when he's asking certain things, says certain things. Like, you just see it from a different side, and you learn how to deal with different people when you learn the other side of the sport, managers, promoters, and how to deal with all of that as well. So it's good.
So what's next for you in your career? Do you have a hit list, or do you have names that you want to?
I'd love to fight. I'd love to fight Ryan Garcia, to be honest, here in Australia. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
We're over there.
That'd be a massive fight anyway. Yeah, big
I'd like.
name.
Yeah, I'd like that. He's coming up to 140, so I'd love to welcome him to the division. He's going to be up here permanently now, so that's a big fight. I mean, it's a big fight for anyone.
Yeah.
When you're
a very exciting fight for sure.
When you're in the top 10 of the world, you can get a fight like that at any moment. Any of those big fights. Him, Rolly Romero, who's fucking trash. I think he's shit. Yeah, he got gifted a world title. There's Tank Davis. I mean, I think he's staying at lightweight. But, there's so many big fights in and around that weight. Devin Haney's meant to be moving up. Regis Prograis, that's, he's the WBC world champion currently. And, he's a massive fight. He's got the world title, so I'd love that fight, he trains out of Houston, where we actually trained for our fight with Montana Love, so we got to train alongside of him, and I think he's a hell of a fighter, but I'd love to share the ring with him and get the chance to fight for the world title. There's so many big fights out there, so there's no sort of one hit list. It's just any fight that's sort of going to get me closer to the world title.
Anyone above you? Is that pretty much the goal?
Pretty much. I mean, who else? If you're talking Australian, there's no one really here for me in Australia besides Liam Parrow. That's the only really fight that makes sense here in Australia. If Matchroom were going to do a show here, that'd be the fight to make.
Would be big.
Yeah, it'd be massive here. That's got a lot of traction and a lot of eyes on it for a lot of years. Me and Liam.
A lot of back and forth.
For a
long
exactly.
time.
And it's more so like it's the boxer versus the puncher. So it'd be a good clash of style. Southpaw orthodox. I think it'd make a great fight. It's a classic, that one. And
what about Gollaz in neutral territory, or do you think that chapter's closed with everyone thinking you won definitively?
Yeah, I mean, I'd happily do it again because I think I'd smoke him. I literally think I'd stop him this time. I reckon I'd stop him in 6 rounds.
I'm surprised you didn't stop him last time.
He
Jeez,
got a chin
what's
on
in
him,
his
mate.
head?
Yeah. No, I really do. Like
that whole fight, it felt like.
Now having that fight and realizing what I can do better and what he did, like I'm just like so much more confident. I'm like, I could do it in 6 rounds. I think I really do. So, if they want to do that fight, happily, but I'm not doing it in Mexico. We can do it in neutral territory, or he can travel to here.
Yeah.
See how he likes traveling to here and having to adjust like I had to.
I think that'd be fair.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I'd do that one. But ultimately, that should just be a win on my record and shouldn't have to revisit it. But we'll see.
Is there anything you can do about disputing that sort of victory, or not really?
We have tried. Matchroom even wrote a letter into the Mexican Commission about how it should be changed to a no contest and that. So we're yet to hear back. But I mean, boxing's one of those sports.
Not much hope.
Not much happens. In
Everyone
it,
sort of expects
everyone
corruption.
just turns a blind eye to it, and it just happens. Unfortunately,
crazy.
but yeah, we'll see how we go, man. I think Matchroom are going to be talking to us over the next week or so about what sort of fights are available to us, and we said about October if we can. So, see how we go.
Thank you very much, Steve, for joining me.
Thanks for having me on. Glad
All
you're
of
coming to the
Steve's
gym.
information will be in the description below.
Thanks very much. Thanks.